Hey NextGeners, Sarah here, and this episode we're talking about your psychic abilities. Are they within your reach? Do you have psychic powers? We're going to talk about psychic powers. We're also going to talk about, yeah, you do have them. And we're going to talk about the possibilities. This is an episode that starts off the whole NextGen experience, NextGen Medium experience, where you gain an awareness of what the possibilities are. I've been on this journey for a couple years, and it was something that came upon me at the age of 33, not knowing that these abilities were something that I beheld and that you can behold as well. That's this episode of NextGen Medium, the podcast. Hey there, my name is Sarah Nickerson. I'm a psychic medium intuitive. I found this out a couple years ago. Now, I've had experiences throughout my lifetime that kind of caught my attention as, well, that was a psychic experience, or what just happened there? That's a crazy coincidence. So here I am now talking to you about this whole experience I've had where I've become aware of something that has always been there, and that is there for you too. So I had a spiritual awakening a couple years ago, and with that, I uncovered my psychic, intuitive, mediumship abilities. I saw hints of it, and it was sort of like, is this really possible? And so I went through the efforts and the vulnerabilities and the fears of everything that goes along with uncovering this stuff for yourself. And I have come to the conclusion that this is my truth. I do readings for people, and now I even help people with their development. And that's what NextGen Medium is all about. You gaining the awareness that this is something for you as well. This is a threshold that you can cross and that you can come into this world. And it's right there for you. There's an invitation, it's open, and it's for you too. And that's what NextGen Medium is all about. You not only crossing that threshold, but gaining control over what is yours. All right, with that, I think I answered the question. Do you have psychic powers? So let's talk about this phrase a little bit, because there's some stuff in here that I want to make sure things are clarified. If you're looking for this phrase, do you have psychic powers, and it brought you here, if you saw this headline, if you saw psychic powers, psychic abilities, there's sort of this cultural umbrella that psychic holds, which once you've crossed the threshold and you start playing with your abilities, you start to discern that psychic is only a portion of the abilities that you can gain. So I just want to make sure that you are aware that psychic, it kind of plays into the clairvoyance side of things, which has to do with vision. All right, so this is stuff you can see in your mind's eye. Some people actually see it around them, but I think with psychic, we're talking more internal. We're talking more about that internal vision board that you have, a screen that shows you imagery. And psychic is more of something that happened in the past, something that happens in the future. Now, there's other abilities that I want you to be aware of. Overall, these are all called soul abilities. You have your intuition, you have your psychic, you have your mediumship, you have healing, and maybe there's more, but I've been so focused on psychic, mediumship, and intuition that to me, I already see how these can be a huge benefit to you and to people around you. So these are things that I really focus on. But soul abilities encompasses these concentrations of psychic and intuitive and mediumship. So do you have specifically psychic powers? If this is really what you're looking for, can I see the future? Then you looked for the right thing. Now, there's more to it than just psychic. Like I said, these other concentrations are other soul abilities, which are just as impressive and just as important in your soul journey. And these abilities help you in a lot of ways to connect with your higher self. Now, here's a phrase I got to use where I feel a little, woo-woo when I say it, but your higher self is sort of your point of light. It's yours, and it's connected to a bigger source. We're all connected to this source. We are all connected to each other, but your higher self is your branch of that tree. And so your soul abilities are ways that you can tap into that higher self and gives you information that is sort of paranormal, unusual. And I use these phrases as a way of, this is how society understands it. But for me, these things are, what I use every day. These are part of my physical senses and then my meta senses, my soul senses. Mental senses, psychic senses. There's so many words for the same things in this world, and that's something that we will come across very often. So I just want to be sure that you know what you are really trying to look for. And that's how I wanted to start this whole episode, was to just clarify, if you are looking specifically for psychic powers, what that really means. And that's being able to see something that happened in the past, or see something that could very well happen in the future. So that would be my introductory question to you. Are you looking for psychic abilities? Or are you looking for something else? And like I said, psychic, it's commonly used to talk about many kinds of soul abilities. But as you get into the weeds of using your soul abilities, you start seeing distinctions, and some of that has to do with where the information comes from that you receive, how you receive the information, what the information is about. Heads up, warning to you, my furnace goes off sometimes, and I live in the northern part of the United States, so that's going to happen quite a bit here. So you're going to hear that go off because I'm tired of stopping and waiting for it to stop. So I just want you to be aware that psychic abilities are just a subset of your soul abilities. When it comes to the question, are you psychic? It's not impossible. You definitely have intuition as a soul ability. Are you psychic though? Maybe. Do you have mediumship abilities? Possibly. Do you have all the soul abilities? It's not impossible. Do you have none of them? I'm gonna say no. You have intuition. We all have intuition. That is our base. That is what connects us to our higher self, which connects us to source, connects us to everybody. So you have intuition. The rest of it, the psychic, the healing, the mediumship, this is what you need to discover for yourself. I also think you could naturally be good at one ability, but, have to work on being better at others. Some people are good with, some people like me, I have intuition, psychic, and mediumship. I've yet to really explore the healing, and there's probably more soul abilities out there, but just those alone have brought so much to my life that I gotta spread the word about all this stuff anyway. But the fact of the matter is, no one can do your soul abilities for you. No one can bestow how to tap into it for you. That's your experience, and you gotta learn that. No one can bestow the experience upon you. You need to put the effort into exploring it and to become aware of it. You probably tap into it and don't even realize it. I bet it happens in your life and you just maybe aren't able to recognize it. Maybe you experience your soul abilities in a guided meditation. Maybe you experience it while sleeping. Maybe you experience it while driving. Maybe you don't realize that you do experience it. And then you dismiss it as daydreaming or having a vivid imagination or an active imagination. Or maybe you have gotten so used to ignoring what you receive that you dismiss it without even recognizing it. It's how you've adapted to this world. A world that ignores this emotional, illogical part of our humanity. But awareness is key in discovering your soul abilities and your soul senses. Start objectively looking at those times when your mind wanders. What abilities and senses are presenting? This will help you to be able to identify your stronger soul abilities and senses. But for now, we are just introducing concepts, things to add to your world of possibility. So no matter what we talk about with soul abilities, these are skills that you already have. Now, if you're not convinced of that, maybe you haven't experienced the use of these skills. If you don't think that you have psychic abilities or other soul abilities, there's a couple things that could be the reasoning why. One is that it's not in your realm of possibility, and part of that has to do with how psychic, intuition, mediumship, all these soul ability things, how they're presented in society. Society tends to want to be exclusive for some things, and this would be one of those things where it benefits quite a bunch of people, institutions and whatever, for you to think that you're not part of this world. You are part of this world. You use it and you don't even know it. I think intuition is the closest way for our society to accept soul abilities. Intuition is something that is sort of a cultural norm. It's talked about in regular everyday life. You know, what does your gut say? That is a nod to intuition. That's an acceptance of intuition, that something illogical can help sway you a certain way. And it's very true, actually. Intuition does not go on logic, it goes on feeling. And that is sort of what I think can bring people to that threshold, including yourself, to start exploring more of what's in these soul abilities and what is actually yours. So I am convinced that everybody has intuition. I think this is a birthright of everybody. Now, when we get further into soul abilities, my understanding is that some people have some skills and some people, let me put this another way. I believe everybody has a little bit of skill in everything. However, just like when we go to school and we learn to read, some people just have a harder time at it than others. Those same people who might have a hard time at reading might be really good at math. So think of it like that. Your intuition, your psychic ability, your mediumship abilities, your healing abilities, I think they're all there for you to tap into and to grow and learn. But I think there's some that you are just naturally better at than others. Some, I think, will come easier to you than others. I think for some people, you experience some of these without even trying. And I think that is something, if you have experience, then that is telling you right there where you should probably start your soul journey. If you have had a premonitional dream, where you dream something that happened in the future, then psychic ability is something you could really tap into. It'd be probably your step into this soul world and learning to control that. So, just because you step into the world, just because you have one ability, doesn't mean you will have them all. But, on the other hand, I am a true believer that if you put some effort into it, you'll be better at those abilities that maybe you don't think you're too good at naturally. I think you can try to get it a little bit better for yourself. I think an example for that, for me, would actually be not so much in the soul abilities, but your soul senses. So when we talk about soul senses, we're talking about ways that you receive information that you get in a psychic experience, that you get in an intuition experience or a mediumship experience. For me, I am really tapped into my clairvoyance. So that would be being able to see things. I see imagery. I'm also good at claircognizance, which is just knowing. Just knowing. It's imparted on me some quickly downloaded information, and it's there. I know. A soul sense that I am actually not very good at, and it's kind of frustrating, is clairaudience, which has to do with hearing spirit. When I say hearing spirit, I'm really talking about information that spirit gives you. So clear hearing, which has to do with receiving messaging through your mind's ear, I think is a good way to put it. Now, there are some people, I didn't want to get too much into clairs because we're going to talk about that at a later point. But there are some people that do have clear hearing, clair audience, and they actually hear it outside of themselves. And then there's some people who hear it in their head. They can distinguish that it's inside their head that they are hearing messaging. For me, I don't hear either inside or outside. I want to be able to do that. And I believe that that's a sense that I can keep working on. It really comes down to figuring out where that information comes for you. And it does take some exploring. And we're going to get into how you can tap into it, where to retrieve that, where to put your focus so you are receiving information using your soul senses. If you are starting your journey and you really want to know how to do the psychic stuff, how to do the intuition stuff, you are free to do whatever you want. I'm just here to make you aware of things. First of all, know that this is your birthright. Being able to cross that threshold to communicate with a stream of information that we don't get through our physical senses. And there's different ways that happens. We will get there. But this is the episode where you know that you are invited. It may seem exclusive. It may seem like there's only certain people that can do it. But I promise you, it's not. It's not like that. Okay. So I just want to be sure you are aware of that. I'm sure people are thinking like, well, why don't people know this? Like, what is it that's holding us behind? And I have my own theories about that. And I can get into it, and I will. Okay, I'll tell you my thoughts about that. I believe there are institutions that don't want you to know these things, to be aware that these are yours to have. One of those is religion. I believe religion, as much as I believe religion was set for humanity to sort of have boundaries, you know what I mean? Like rules. I do also see how religion uses this idea that you don't know, so we're going to tell you what to know. In the whole spiritual journey that you are starting, it's all about you developing your own truth. It's not anybody telling you how to do it. I'm here to guide you in the direction, but ultimately there's going to be a lot of things where I have to say, like, you need to do some experimentation. This is how you can do it. But what the results are, that stuff becomes your truth. And your truth is going to be different than my truth because how we experience the soul journey, our purpose, how we receive, how we interpret, these things are going to be different for each and every one of us. So there's a lot of individualism that is a part of the soul journey. I also think that that's another thing that religion doesn't want. They don't want you to have individualism, and it's hard to control people that value their individualism. I also think capitalist societies are also part of the problem. And let me put it this way when it comes to my experience and my truth. Once I crossed that threshold of being someone who had things to do and was busy thinking about the next thing I had to do and the bills I had to pay and blah, 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 I can now look back after having a spiritual awakening, after diving into my soul senses, understanding my soul abilities, practicing my soul abilities, seeing them work, seeing their effect on people and the truth that they hold. I have become a person that is quite comfortable in who I am, to the point where I don't care what other people think of me. That is not a concern of mine. What my concern is how can I help people? What is my purpose? How can I have fun doing it? Okay? These are the things that are important. Feeling happy and serving your purpose. You're going to hear this a lot with my podcast. So here we are again. Capitalist societies don't want you to be content as an individual. They want you to have a hole where they can fill it with material things that you'll buy and you be a happy little consumer. Now, let me put this out there. When it comes to how a society's set up, when it comes to their economic stuff, like I am the kind of person that doesn't really care as long as nobody's suffering from it. And as we can see, there have been many theories put forth, many theories used when it comes to economic stuff in societies, and really have yet to see one that really helps all people. But so there's always room for improvement, it sounds like. But it is something that I see as consumerism is the hole that we allow to have in ourselves, and people make money off of that. And that's the power that they can hold over us. And being confident and self-secure is something that I have found, having crossed the threshold. I think there's a lot of people that don't benefit from that. So I think there's a lot of things historically and even now that hold us back from knowing this about ourselves. We don't grow up valuing what we can bring, maybe in little ways, but when we go to school, we are given a book in front of us of information that's already been thought up, and that's what we put in our heads. We're not thinking about what you can bring, and if we are, it's just a little tidbit of bringing you to the show when it comes to your education, but you're just learning what somebody else has thought up. And so you are nurtured into a world where you are given the information and not you go out to find information and truth. Okay, so there's my diatribe on that, because I think that's something that people would be skeptical of. Well, Sarah, if this was the truth and everybody would know this stuff, hey, I'm living it. I am living it. And that's why I wanted to start this whole thing. I can't believe people don't know this stuff. I can't believe kids aren't taught this stuff in school. I think there is a movement, the tiniest little movement of mindfulness, of valuing your individualism, but it's just scratching the surface right now. There's just so much more that needs to be included in everybody's everyday life to really understand and prioritize and not be stuck in where do I fit into this group. Really what it should be is, what do I contribute to this group? And I bet a lot of people can't nail it down. And I bet a lot of people have been told this is the value you hold, but is it something you really know as your truth? Wow. Okay, getting really deep with this first episode. Not my intentions. My intentions is just to make you aware. You are invited to this world. Make you aware of your soul senses. Make you aware of your soul abilities. Make you aware of how your soul abilities work with your soul senses, as well as what those soul abilities are. It's not just psychic. It's also intuitive and mediumship and healing, and there's maybe some others. Okay, that's where I'm going to wrap it up. First episode, NextGEN Medium, the podcast. All right, that's going to wrap it up for this episode of NextGEN Medium, the podcast. I hope your mind was blown. I hope this is something you think about for a little while, because there's a magnitude of worlds that you are already a part of. You're just not aware of it. And we're gonna flip that switch for you. We're starting that now. I have more stuff on my website, nextgenmedium.com. I do a vlog and I do a blog. So if you're more of the kind of person that needs to read it, that's me. I like to read it. I like to see it. You can go to nextgenmedium.com and check that out. Also, if you need some reassurance during your journey, you can book a development session with me. Go to my website, nextgenmedium.com, and right there on the first page, you can book an appointment. You can scroll through my calendar and you can be like, there's my date and time, and you can pick it and you select it and put down a deposit. That saves the date and I'll get you started. If you're into the social media, I do that too. I've got Facebook, I've got Instagram, I've got Pinterest. You can follow me there. I like to update things where I like to put a little bit of content on there, so you can just, if you're scrolling through and you're like, I'm kind of in the mood, you can play something and get your brain going, get your soul senses awakened. So come visit me at nextgenmedium.com and learn a little bit more about your soul journey, those soul abilities, those soul senses. There's so much more to learn. Until next time, take some time, absorb what was just given to you, and I want you to think about past experiences you've had that may be a hint at your abilities, because we're going to help clarify your direction. All right, you do that, and I will get going on some more material. Have a great rest of your day. See you, bye.